Hi, my name is Alan Biggins. I am the representative in the Milton Keynes area for SolarSave. We fit the solar panels that will make you and Britain better off. I've made this video to give an introduction to a quite complicated subject: why solar panels lose a significant amount of power if they are in shadow, and how that power loss can be avoided. This is of huge importance in many solar installations. Solar panels create energy by using photons to release electrons. The photon is a charge of energy which is the basic unit of light. When it strikes a solar panel, the photon's energy knocks electrons loose, allowing them to flow freely. This produces electricity. If it is light, then there are photons. However, their activity varies with light strength, which is dependent on the angle of the Earth to the Sun and where we are on the Earth. Light intensity is greatest when the Sun is highest in the sky, which in the Northern Hemisphere is at midday on Midsummer's Day. Light intensity is, of course, affected by shadowing. So shadowing cuts down the production of electricity from solar panels. This may not matter much when the sunlight is weak, for example in winter or in the early morning, but it will matter greatly when it is strong. Then, shading of the solar panels will significantly reduce their output and can also cause damage through overheating of the panels. If even a small section of a solar panel is shaded, for example by a chimney, there is a very significant drop in power output from the panel. This is because a PV panel is made up of a string of individual solar cells connected in series with one another. The electrical output from the whole panel is limited to that passing through the weakest link cell. In a typical panel, if one cell, out of perhaps 60 in that panel, is completely shaded, the power output from the panel can fall by a third, a very significant drop. But the effect of shading doesn't stop there. Typically, a domestic solar panel installation will comprise an inverter and one or two strings of panels wired in series. The inverter takes the direct electrical current produced by the panels and converts it to alternating current, which is what is used domestically. Just as the shading on a single cell of a panel will pull down the performance of that panel, the underperformance of that panel will pull down the performance of the whole string. Large disproportionate power losses can be caused by a tiny amount of shading. A very interesting posting on the American website www.renewableenergyworld.com called Shade Happens shows a chart of field test results which illustrate this very clearly. Notice how 9% of shading on the third test has led to a power loss of 54%. Why does shading cause such a disproportionate power loss? Because of the way the inverter tracks and regulates the panel's performance. It does this using a method called Maximum Power Point Tracking, MPPT. Conventional MPP inverter tracking does not cope well with shade, deriving its output by calling the same amount, that of the weakest performing panel, from each panel. How can the impact of shade be reduced? I will consider 5 of the more obvious ways. The first is standard practice, the other 4 are why it's a good idea to have a competent system designer. Firstly, the use of diodes. To prevent the whole string of cells failing when one cell underperforms, like Christmas tree lights which are also strung together in series, panels are fitted with diodes. A diode is an electrical component that only allows current to flow in one direction. This does not call for any effort on the system designer's part, as diodes are fitted as standard by the panel manufacturers. Most panels have 3 diodes. When a panel is partially shaded, the current from the unshaded part of the panel passes through a diode, which bypasses a shaded group of cells. While some power is lost as heat in the diode due to the voltage drop, the overall power generation of the partially shaded panel is better than it would be without the diodes. and the diodes also protect the shaded cells from overheating. That may sound strange, but it makes sense if you understand that the producing cells would otherwise transfer their power into the shaded ones, as the electrical resistance is lower there. The catch is, as I said earlier, rerouting the current loses not only the potential energy from these cells, but also lowers the entire string's output. The second way to reduce the impact of shading is more diodes. As I've mentioned, most solar panels have 3 diodes. Fitting more diodes helps in shaded conditions. For example, the Canadian manufacturer, Day 4 Solar, fit not 3 but 9 diodes into their panels. This means a partially shaded panel will suffer smaller power loss. The third way to reduce the impact of shading is by avoiding it. Of course, the most effective way of avoiding losses from shadowing is to keep the panels away from shadows. Equally obviously, this is not always possible. In some cases though, it is possible to cut back trees or even sometimes to resite roof projections. Fourthly, let us look at microinverters. Microinverters are small inverters, one of which is fitted to each panel. So if you had an installation of 20 panels, you would not have one inverter but 20, one fitted to the underside of each panel. Microinverters have some advantages. They eliminate a whole string of panels being affected by just 1 or 2 panels in shadow. They come with a 20-year guarantee. Most inverters have a 5-year guarantee. They have online system monitoring. They have some disadvantages too. Not all panels will work with them. They are more expensive than a single inverter solution. They require connection to a router, broadband. This is because the guarantee is dependent on online monitoring of the inverter's performance, so there needs to be internet access at all times. Obviously, because of this, there are more components to fail, router, PC, etc. In the installation where we used them, where the shadowing was heavy, we used 3 repeaters to get the signal from the loft down to the router in the living room. This was in a standard semi-detached house, a distance of approximately 8 metres. The inverters are normally located under the panel, where they're harder to access in case of problems. This is more of a comment really, as, should they go wrong, it would be the manufacturer who should fix them, not you or us. And the final option that I consider here is improved MPP inverter tracking. Some inverters offer improved tracking, which allows a better output rate for partially shaded panels. One such is the OptiTrack system that is incorporated into some SMA inverters. In conclusion, many installations are not affected by shade at all. Where shadows will be an issue, the first step is, of course, to fully understand the problem. Personally, if shadowing is going to affect your installation, I would recommend making a model of the site, usually a house and roof, including anything that might cause shadows, usually trees, other buildings, dormers or chimneys. Software is available to help with this. So, the subject is not a simple one, and this is very much an overview of it. Proper planning needs to be done. If this video has helped you, please view the others in my series. Links to them can be seen at my website www.solarsavemk.co.uk. Bye for now.